Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. I finally remembered to switch my microphone on. The joys of using OBS and it not doing it automatically. My name is Ash, aka Ghostbuster, and I'm here with a brand new episode of the XPN Podcast. This week we've got a PSVR 2 special as such, where we're going to be talking all about PSVR 2, the games, ones that are out now, some that are coming soon, and what we think of the headset in general. Now, I'm not alone. I am joined by the regular baldest gamer known to man, Mr. BMG down there. How's it going, good sir?
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to all. Yeah, it's good, awesome to be here as always. Obviously, I don't have a PlayStation VR, but obviously very interested.
Well, we can try and convince you. We'll convince you.
Well, this is it. Well, all I need really is a Pornhub game to come out for it, and I'll go and break all the kids' piggy banks and go and get one.
And we've also got a special guest, the one, the only, Luke Steele.
It's me. Hello. Evening.
No, you've got to say it properly. Say it properly. Go on.
You say it properly. You say it properly.
You don't need to. Everyone knows you don't need to.
And we are joined tonight by the one and the only Luke Steele.
I don't know why I sounded malevolent there. That was quite evil.
Slightly touching myself at the same time, I must admit.
Fair enough. So, yeah, people often do.
You've got to.
So.
I'm still. And I had a bad back from EJX because he didn't give me a lift home in his helicopter, so I had to have peasant transport on that bus.
I gave you the option, but then you picked the megabus, which was your fatal error. Fatal error.
I'm driving next time. I'd walk. I'd rather walk.
Yeah, I've had some interesting megabus journeys. Although all of mine back in the day did arrive on time, which is better than yours.
When I went to WASD, right, it was a great trip. Like everything was on time, everything was there, fantastic. So I was like, I'll do it again. I'm going back down to London at the end of the month for something. I don't know actually if I'm allowed to say it yet. I don't know if it's been announced, but it's something with Outright Games, and I'm like, no, I'll just go on the train. I'm taking the whole family. We're all going on the train. I'd rather spend that money, pay for the train, than
100%.
cripple myself and spend 7 hours at Victoria bus station. So, quick shout out to everyone in chat. We've got Muppet, we've got Thimba, Meisuko that I can see. Thank you for already jumping into chat and joining us. Make sure you hit that like button, share this out onto the socials, and if you haven't already, give us a subscribe. It does help us massively. And also, if you aren't a member to the channel, you can become one for only 99p a month. Gets you access to all sorts of members-only content. You get a nice little XPN logo next to your name. You get a whole host of XPN emotes and a load of members-only videos. I'm doing a couple probably tomorrow now where I'm reacting to a few of the other showcases that have happened over the last week. So keep your eyes peeled, members. There are some coming very, very soon. And also check out all of our review videos on the channel. I've just put one up for Roller Coaster Tycoon yesterday, and it's flying at the moment. So check that one out. It's a massive disappointment, though. I don't normally do negative reviews for games. I tend to be very upbeat, but I felt like I'd been slighted personally by that release. And go watch the video, watch me rant for 10 minutes about why it's a hollow carcass of what made Roller Coaster Tycoon good back in the day. And if you're on Xbox, just avoid it. Just run like the plague right now.
Was it good back in the day?
Yes.
Or was it just all we had?
No, right. Okay, so this, sum it up, this new one has half the features that are available in the games from 20 years ago removed. Like simple things and everything that was in the old games don't seem to be in this best version, this new version, this improved reimagining that's built for console UI. It's a sad state of affairs, and it's a shame because Atari recently have been doing some actual decent sort of remasters, re-releases. They do this Recharge series where they've done like Yars and all the classics, and they reimagine them, and they're all great that I've played about 6 of them, and they're all fantastic. But that is a really, really, really rubbish rubbish output from them. But let's get off that. Let's get into the meat, the vegetables, and the Yorkshire puds of this episode. We're going to be talking about PSVR 2. Now, obviously, the PSVR 2 has been out a while now. I'm lucky enough to own one. I know you've got one, Luke, as well. It's the follow-up headset to the PSVR 1. It was released in February, I think February 22nd, 2023, for PS5 consoles. And honestly, it was a bit of a rocky launch for the headset in terms of the amount of games that released on it. But there's been a trickle of them, like a steady trickle that's slowly been growing over the last few months. Now, Luke, what do you think of your headset? Like, did you ever play with a PSVR 1 headset?
Yeah, I did. I had the first one. I didn't play that one very much. I played for a bit, like a good few hours, every other week initially, and then eventually just kind of fell off it. I think part of it was such a pain to set up
with the little box. The box, into your box,
and then like 4 wires coming off the box, and it was just a pain. I really didn't like the controls either, like the repurposing of the PlayStation moves. Like they didn't work very well on most things.
Yeah.
But there definitely some cool experiences on it, particularly the Astro game, which was excellent, really good. So I kind of went into PSVR 2, obviously they announced it, and spec wise I thought it looked really impressive, massive jump over the first PSVR. So yeah, I picked it up on launch day. I got the bundle that had Horizon Call of the Mountain with it.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
And I've played it more already than I played the first PSVR, which is a good sign, albeit I haven't played it maybe as much as I thought I would, but there are reasons for that I think we can talk about. But I mean, as a piece of technology, I think it's fantastic, and you can have some incredible experiences in it, which I'm sure we'll talk about as well.
Yeah, I'm same as you. I had a PSVR 1. Never used it very much because of how much of a pain in the ass it was to set up. Like, you'd spend 20 minutes setting it up, you'd end up like wrapped in cables everywhere.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was a bit hit and miss for me. As a glasses wearer, I felt a lot of the time it was very uncomfortable with glasses, and without, I felt it got blurry quite easily. And also, I had it on the PS4, and I felt it was very, very pixelated on the PS4. I then got a PS4 Pro, and while that did improve the resolution to the point it wasn't sickening, it still was. It wasn't ideal. And like I say, getting the Move controllers, like in the UK, for some reason they suddenly became like rocking horse poo. You couldn't get them; they were extremely expensive. But the games weren't good without them, so I've managed to get some. There were some great experiences on the first one. I really liked the one where you were like, it had like multiple games. It was like a demo disc, really. I like that one you got with the machine. I liked the horror roller coaster one. I played that so much, and there was a few others as well, but it never felt perfect. Whereas the second one, to me, there's a lot of improvements to it. But I'm like you, I played it a lot more than the first one, but I also haven't played it as much as I wanted to, and we'll probably talk about that soon. But before we get into like experiences, BMG, from someone who doesn't have one, why haven't you got one, and what would it take for you to get one? Like, what are you looking for from it, basically?
Well, I'd say with you guys, I did have the PSVR 1, and I got quite a lot out of that. I just had it set up all the time because it was just easier. And like say, I had it on the base PS4. It struggled, my PS4 was levitating at one point because the fan was going that fast. and I upgraded to the Pro, so it did improve it a little bit. But yeah, you know, movement wise, you had to be very careful with, otherwise it went blurry, pixelated, or just got a message saying you've gone out of view. And you can probably see actually this mark on my wall here is where my knuckle and move controller caught it when I was playing Skyrim in VR. I was trying to add an axe, trying to hit a giant, and ended up smacking the wall, and it wasn't fun in that sense. But there were some good experiences on it. You know, I like the social games. Like there's two games that stood out for me, which it's a shame they haven't upgraded them for the PSVR 2 yet, because that would actually push me to get one. Is Star Trek Bridge Crew.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant. It was such a fun game, actually being on the starship and, you know, working together. One's the captain, you know, everyone else on the stations, controlling everything. You give out the orders. And Werewolves Within, such a fun game. So, you know, all sat around the campfire and the environment all around you. Absolutely brilliant. So them type of games I liked. And Skyrim, you know, Skyrim, they were using where you could lean forward. I think it was you lean forward or you pushed a button to walk forward and you looked where you wanted to walk and stuff. You know, I prefer that over the teleporting. Teleporting I found was jarring and kind of took you out the experience a bit. And like for me, yeah, I haven't got a PSVR 2. Just like I say, cost of everything, cost of living, expensive. You know, maybe Black Friday things could drop a bit. You never know. So it was kind of one of them things. It's launched. There's not a great deal out that makes me want to say I need to play this. I need this. I need to have these experiences, and everything we're going on with PlayStation at the moment. Going on to new leadership soon. What happens with PSVR 2? We don't know yet. But something to get me into it, I would need like a Skyrim experience, an actual full game, like. Not saying it has to be the length of Skyrim, but something that's so immersive that you're getting the full game experience, that you're in there, that would get something that would get me into it. You know, be a Last of Us game, an Uncharted game. Not saying it has to be made direct from obviously the games that have been made, because you sort of need that cinematic story, cutscenes, and that as well. But something along them lines where you're going on a full adventure. And you're in the adventure as it's playing out, something like that. And like I say, another social game, something like the Werewolves Within or Star Trek Bridge, where you've got to work together as a group to actually achieve stuff. Maybe you could have like a social game where everyone's in VR and you're in this like building, whatever, hotel, someone's been murdered and you're trying to find clues, and so many of the killers or killer, the rest are trying to come together to find out. I know they've sort of done it with Among Us, but Among Us is, it's all right on mobile, but it's not something I enjoy on console. Not something I'd really enjoy in VR. But yeah, it takes something like that sort of experience to get me in, to get me to consider getting one. But I think the biggest sticking point is the price. I understand why it's so expensive. Times when the cost of manufacturing and all that, so I understand why it's so expensive, but it's nothing that's made me say, right, yeah, I've definitely got to have one. It's kind of, I need more convincing, I think. And like I say, I'm on today's show just really to hear what you two have got it, what you two think of it, what the games, the quality, and the future of the PSVR 2. Is it something that's going to fade away, or is it something we're going to see more of? Because I thought maybe now Spider-Man 2's out the door, they'll be starting to try and push PSVR 2 for the Christmas period, seeing more of it, seeing bigger, better experiences, and haven't quite seen that yet. And will we get something? Will we not get something? Who knows? But yeah, I'd be interested to pretty much sit here and soak in all the PlayStation goodness, because it's the only way you can become great.
You're here to big up the PlayStation because you bleed blue, mate. So we wanted you to come on and enjoy it. But I 100% get what you're saying with the price. It isn't a cheap system. I hold my hand up. I only got mine because I was on the fence about it, but I got offered a handful of review codes, and I was like, well, this makes sense to get one because I can start doing review codes for the the channel and stuff like that. So I sort of got a bit of a foot in the door, basically. I sort of kick up the arse to get it. But like I say, since then, I've got some other VR games for reviews. I'm going to talk about some of them today. And I've bought a few of them as well. Like I say, there is a growing selection. I still don't think there's a huge selection, but compared to what's at launch, there is a growing quality. I mean, I've just got me. I wonder why I'm looking off up here. I've just got my PS5 on just so I can look at the store. There is a decent selection. There is a lot that's been announced that we're still waiting for releases. So yeah, I like I say, it's gonna be interesting to see the longevity of it. Like, I felt like the PSVR 1 had a lot of support, whereas the PSVR 2, it seemed to start strong. They showed it off loads, and they gave it lots and lots of love and attention at like showcases, states of play and stuff like that. But recently, there hasn't been as much of it, and I don't know whether that's just they're waiting for games to come out, or we're sort of not hitting the targets they want, so maybe they've decided to like slow its roll down and maybe not push it as much. I hope that's not the case, but it's as an owner, I want to know, and I need Sony soon, like in the new year, to come out and be like, we know you buy this, we want to support this for many years. I know obviously it all depends on devs making games for it, so there has to be a player base and stuff like that. But at the same time, like, I need to know that my investment is going to pay off as such. So I can't 100% at the moment recommend it. Like, even though I'll heap praises on it, there are niggles and stuff like that, and I'll heap praise where it's due. Until Sony start to show some confirmation and sort of, we're gonna look after you guys, it's a hard sell, basically.
I'd be interested to know though how much now, in the time you've had with the PSVR 2, like from the start to this point, this is to both of you, how much now are you using your PSVR 2? Is it something you're using daily, weekly? Have you turned it on once a month? Is it something that you're regularly playing, or is it something you're thinking, I really want to jump in, get in and play VR, or is it now at that point where you think it's too much effort, or there's nothing really there that's grabbing you? I'd be interested to know where you're at now with the VR.
Go on then, Luke. I'll let you answer one.
Oh, thanks. I haven't played it recently at all. I don't think that's necessarily because I don't enjoy it. It's because there's been loads and loads of things out, so that's just taken time away, and I only have a limited amount of time to play games anyway. So when I do, it's just been one game after the other, and there's so much on the backlog, and it kind of gets into that kind of crush period effectively. So I think my usage has basically dropped off from launch gradually. But I think another reason for that is I think in the last few months, there's not really been that much coming out. Like there have been some cool things, and like I want to pick up Beat Saber, for example, which everybody knows about, but I've never played before. But I know that I'd probably enjoy it, and my wife would as well.
Beat Saber is amazing. So, I'd not played it on the PSVR 2. I've played it on the what was it now? One of the other headsets. I can't remember exactly which one it was.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. But so I'm just jumping in there to recommend that for everyone.
Yeah. It's the one VR game you see recommended all the time, no matter what platform it's on. It's like go and get Beat Saber, basically.
Yeah.
So I'll pick that up, and I'll probably play that like over Christmas a little bit, and that's the kind of game where I could see myself using it a bit more consistently, because it's a game you can just pick up, you can have a few sessions, and then you put it back down, and it's fine. So yeah, I think my usage has dropped off, but I think a problem for me as well is that my VR legs are absolutely shocking. Like, they're really, really terrible. So I get pretty motion sick pretty quickly in certain games, not every game. And unfortunately, there was a period where I was playing it a lot more, and I was building my legs up, and then I stopped because I started playing other stuff, and now I'm going to have to, I think, go back to square one with it again and try and like work my way up. So I think your usage, I don't know what yours is like, Ash, but can vary depending on how prone you are to motion sickness in VR, in particular, depending on the game you're playing, which, you know, there are some games I'm absolutely fine on, then other games just, you know, 20 seconds and just, there's no... I remember playing, I don't know if you played it, Ash, Horizon Call of the Mountain, and the intro sequence is, I think most people have seen this, you're on the boat, and you're going on the boat, and there's, you know, robot dinosaurs around. All of that's totally fine because it's like passive movement. So it's totally fine. And then there's a bit where you get knocked off the boat and you climb up a ladder, and it's like, here we go, you got to walk forward now. This is your introduction to movement. And I walked about 5 seconds. I was like, nope.
that goes. I mean, I didn't get motion sick from it, but it has a lot of heights in that game. And if you're not the biggest heights fan, even though you know it's not real, it still messes your stomach up a little bit. And also that's like, it goes from being like a nice little boat ride to like a cardio session straight away. That game, you're like, I'm sat on a boat flicking the water and like looking at this thing walking up here, and now I've got to like go like this to get anywhere.
And like the climbing as well, it's really intensive. Like,
I like the climbing.
I like it.
I've not got the best setup where I currently had it, or when I had that setup, I didn't have the best like space, so I kept like having to like lean back to like climb up the walls and stuff. But I know what you mean. I mean, for me, I get on with most VR games. I do get headaches quite a bit but that's not just necessarily VR. So if I'm tired, I can't really play VR. And the last couple of months, bar for like doing this special and some upcoming videos, I've been not touching it, mainly because I've been super busy, but then also in like work, I've been like rammed with work, getting home late. I've been going down to London for multiple game events. I'm tired, so I've never been able to catch up on my sleep to the point that I can sit and play it. But before that, I was playing it every day, every other day for like half an hour at a time. Then I'd have a break, maybe go back to it. But a lot of the games I got at launch were short. Like there was one that was you were like playing drums, rock drums. So you can do a couple of songs.
Drums Rock, I think it is.
Drums Rock, fantastic. I had the
really
Zombie Side game, another one that's short and sweet levels. They're like 5-minute levels at best. So all that sort of stuff I enjoyed. There wasn't anything new coming out that I was rushing for. Now I've got like a glut that I'm going to be going back to it. Like there's now like a Peaky Blinders game. There's the new Ghostbusters game. There's quite a few I want to play now that I haven't got, so I'll be jumping back in. And there's more coming towards Christmas, so I want to use it because I found it was quite a good workout as well. Like I was trying to lose weight a bit. I'm not saying it's going to make you super fit or anything, but you're burning off a lot using it, especially when you're going all out, sweating like buckets and stuff like that. So overall, like I say, it varies depending on what's released and what sort of time. Now, Christmas, like I'm going to have 3 weeks off over Christmas period, minimum. I'll probably have it plugged in permanently for that time. So I'll probably use it every other day, if not every day then, just to sort of capture footage, play games and stuff like that. But it's one of those things you can't play with other people. It's not a social thing. Like, I don't want anyone else wearing my headset. Like, I don't want your sweaty foreheads in my helmet. I don't want you putting my ear, like, headphones into your dirty ears. Like, it's not something you can pass around. So that's the only downside of VR. Maybe they need to make some experiences like they did with the Wii U, where one person had the handheld and everyone else played on the telly. Something like that, where everyone plays on the TV and you play something in the headset. That would be cool. Like a hide and seek game or something like that. Like something like creepy horror. You're like the monster in the headset, and they're running around hiding like on the TV. So yes, Muppet. There's a Peaky Blinders game. I don't know what it's about. I didn't even know it was out. I've just put the store on today, and there's a Peaky Blinders game available. What's it called? Peaky Blinders: The King's Ransom Complete Edition. And then there's also Ghostbusters: Rise of the Ghost Lord, which looks cool. There's loads. There's a load of rhythm games as well. There's one that's like a electric guitar playing one that looks quite cool. So that's probably the best answer, BMG. It all depends on what sort of game you're playing. Like some of these are more longer experiences, where others are like quick, short mini game experiences and stuff like that. Where I feel like that's where VR thrives to me. I couldn't imagine wearing a VR headset for like 5 hours, 6 hours a day playing games. That blows my mind. People that do that. So
where would you say, compared to the PSVR 1, PSVR 2, how much has the technology and what's in it's jumped from the first version to the second version?
So much.
It's massive.
And out of like the quality of games, do you feel like, for what's on offer and the quality of the games, do you feel like you're getting your money's worth? And is it being used to its full potential yet? You know, it's only like now with the Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, we're starting to see games that are built for these consoles, and they are starting to use the technology in them for the games to be as good as they're getting. Do you feel like the PlayStation VR 2 is doing the same? Is it held back because a lot of games are just sort of ported at the moment? Or do you think PlayStation need to do more from the ground up experiences to use it to its full potential?
I think personally, I'd say about half of them are ports from other headsets, if not more. However, a lot of them do have graphical upgrades and improvements that make advantage of the PlayStation VR's controllers and everything like that. So in that sense, I think it's absolutely fine. However, I would like to see more games take full advantage, because the ones that are built for it, like the Horizon game, really uses the headset that's got like vibrations in it and stuff, and better eye tracking. It's fantastic. And compared to the PSVR 1, which, let's not lie, was terrible, like compared to this, it was so limited. You basically were wiggling around, you know what they look like, glowing toys. And now you've got controllers that you can move, just everything feels great on it. It's a much better system in terms of like, you feel like you're holding things. Like if I go like this with both my hands and go like that, it feels like I'm hitting two sticks together, like drumsticks. How that works, I have no idea, known to man. But like the haptics and everything in it are incredible. Is it taking full advantage? Probably not just yet. Only on a handful, I would say. But the ones that do are awesome. So that's my personal opinion anyway.
Yeah, I think there's certain games that I think have taken really good advantage of it. Mainly, as you say, Horizon, which does Resident Evil Village as well. Really impressive. Again, I just can't play too much of it because I'll just throw up. But it's very, very, very impressive. That's also really good because obviously it's, there's a lot of shooting. And the haptics on the guns and stuff are really good. And in fact, when you're having to kind of, if you have a pistol and you have to manually reload that, that's super cool. And I feel like with the haptics, it becomes even more immersive. I think, I'm trying to think. Yeah, Horizon basically uses like the full suite of features, right? Uses the eye tracking, uses the haptics across everything. It's pretty high resolution. That's a huge upgrade over the first one. Just the clarity of everything, the resolution is super, super, super high compared to what it looked like before.
Yeah.
The panels, the OLED panels as well, are much better. So the HDR in there is better. Black levels are better. I think probably the one that most impressed me, and it doesn't necessarily take full advantage of all the features, but I just think in terms of experience, was probably Gran Turismo 7, actually. I've put like random people who have visited on that just for like a race, and they're just kind of like instantly blown away by it. And it's I don't have a proper steering wheel set up, so I can imagine with that it would be even more incredible. But even just being in that with a controller is unbelievable, and it looks really, really good. Like, obviously they've had to downgrade the game to get it to run at a higher frame rate, but it's not that significant a downgrade, so it still looks really good. But yeah, I'm still waiting for that game. Like, I want something like Half-Life Alyx. Like, I'd just love a port of that, just something that's really built, for VR, that's a proper full-fledged experience, or rather built for PSVR 2. Whether that comes from Sony or even a port of that game or whatever, I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm still waiting for that kind of fully fledged, immersive game that I can play. Maybe it'll be something like Resident Evil 4, the VR version of that, if I can stomach it. But yeah.
But if you, like I said, I was going to lead on to the next thing I was going to ask you is what game would you want to see for the PSVR 2? If you could pick a first-party studio out of all the studios they've got, who would you pick to make your game that you wanted? What game would you want to be made for it?
I would... it doesn't even have to be a full game, but I really would... And I can't imagine I would stomach this. Actually, I don't know if I would stomach this. But I keep thinking, like, surely Insomniac have looked at doing a small VR version of Spider-Man, right? Like, being able to swing through a city. Like, it doesn't have to be a fully fledged game or anything like that. It doesn't have to be, Spider-Man 2 playable VR. It's just not going to be possible. But I would love, like, an experience. There was that Batman Arkham game, like, ages ago. That maybe Batman is like like, even if it's 2-3 hours, just something like that, I think would be really impressive. Like I said, I don't know how that would be motion wise, like how that would work. But I think, just as an experience, even if I could play around for 5 minutes, that would be cool.
Yeah, there's a few. Like I said, I just want to see them support it with their own first-party stuff. There's a lack of Sony first-party stuff on this. Like, where's the Astrobot? Like Scott says, why is there not an Astrobot game on this? Who knows? Like, it feels like it should have launched with one. I'd like to see. I want a Parappa the Rapper rhythm game. Give me that. That's all I want. I don't care. I'm a bigger fan of silly little games and quick games that I can play for like half an hour at a time over like story-driven epic campaigns, especially in VR. But that's just me personally. But there's so many franchises Sony could dip into to bring to VR. They need to be talking to Valve and be like, come on, let's get Half-Life over here. Come on, guys.
Yeah. And it could easily run it as well. Like, and it's got like the motion controllers are basically the closest thing there is to the Valve Index ones as well. So, I really love Half-Life as well. So I really want them to bring that over. Yeah. And I've just heard how amazing that is. Like, just not necessarily, like, not even just, oh, it's an amazing VR game. It's just an amazing game that's in VR. So.
Yeah, but does the Steam VR have Cactus Cowboy Desert Warfare?
Well,
who knows?
Probably not. Well, maybe it does actually. It probably does, isn't it?
But
if they announced the Destiny 2 VR, I'd get one tomorrow.
Well, they're going to have to soon just to keep players, aren't they? So,
well, everyone wanted rid of Jim, and this is what you get: chaos. It's all your fault. Everyone out there, they're hating on Jim, and this is what you get: to play the house.
He's still in charge.
No, he's not. He just sits in chair wheeling around his office. That's what Jim's doing. Doing them smooth dance moves on his desk. To that Rick Astley song. Never gonna give you one.
The problem they've got is, like everything though, it's got a low adopt rate, and a lot of the games are made by smaller devs, so they're going to put them on everything. And I get that. I totally understand that. Sony need to be like, what they should be doing, if it was me, put some of them in PS Plus to give people a reason to, like, they might go, oh, there's a game in PS Plus, a VR game once a month in PS Plus. I'll buy the headset because I get at least one free game. And then they'll go, well, I've got the VR headset I've paid for, maybe I'll buy another game, and then it'll slowly snowball. But if you put a high price on it, and then like some of your games, like some of these are cheap, like £5 to £10, £15. Others are a lot of money, like Ghostbusters is like 45 quid or something like that. That's a lot of money for a VR game. The Resident Evil games that I want are like 30 odd pound. Do you know what I mean? There's some great ones, and then there's some rather expensive ones, like the Star Wars one, Tales from the Galaxies, £35.
Yeah.
Came out on last
That was
gen.
good.
I know, but it was already out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scott asks a good question. Do you think Sony should allow their headset to also be used on PC to help with VR adoption?
100%. Not even for VR adoption, just for selling the headsets. Look at Kinect. Kinect had a second life by them allowing it for Windows, and all those weird companies were making third-party apps in like business and stuff like that. They flogged it to Sky. Microsoft made a ton of money.
It's out now
with Kinect
it's out on TV
because they've allowed it to be used in other things. Would it help massively sell PSVR on a console? I don't know, but having that headset work on PC can't hurt. Someone would mod it and like allow like it to work with Steam games and stuff like that. I 100% think it would. But you've got to think about selling your headset and your accessories over, like, I think they're just like PS5, 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 PS5.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean,
think,
the accessories are expensive as well at the moment. So,
especially that PlayStation Portal coming out.
Yeah, well, I bought an unofficial charging stand. I've even got it here. Look, hang on.
Nice.
It was only like 15 quid off Amazon. It charges them. They sit in it, and they like got magnetized little pins to the chargers to lock them in place. Cool. Does the job fantastic. I don't have to keep plugging them in because I kept having to charge one, because you only get one cable to charge them with in the box.
Yeah.
There's two handsets, so I had to sort of charge one then the other, which was always annoying because one was always running out of battery. So now they both charge together. So
was it the right-handed one?
All the time, mate. All the time.
But one more question for you is, sorry, I took over a little bit.
No, it's good. It's good.
Do you think it was a mistake on Sony's PlayStation side by making it wired?
Not really, because the wire is so long and it's so easy. It's just literally one wire you plug into the front. After playing with the PSVR 1, which had like cables that were like this thick, and there was about 7 of them, and you ended up having to like plug everything in, and you couldn't turn your head without like getting throttled by the wire. I don't care about the one wire. I rarely notice it. I'm either sat down or I'm stood up. It doesn't bother me, and it probably gives it more power. Like it doesn't have to be charged all the time. It allows them to use a bit more of the sort of oomph from the PlayStation, which I'd rather have.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is if you went wireless, then it would be bespoke hardware in the headset, which would be good in terms of just being able to move around without a cable. But as Ash said, it's one cable that's really long now, so it's not really a hindrance having it. And then also it causes all sorts of problems for their own development, like having to build something, for a separate piece of hardware, when otherwise they could just build a VR mode in an existing game that they've built for PlayStation 5 and just tweak it to make sure it runs on the same hardware, but just through PSVR 2. So not a mistake. I think this is that, and I wouldn't want them to, I think as well that you're compromising the scope of the game you can make putting it on wireless hardware. So I think stuff like GT7, would that run on wireless hardware, to the same standard? Probably not. So yeah.
Yeah, I will say, just thinking about it, there's not as many so far this gen, since this is released, there's not as many games with PSVR modes added. Like, there was loads with the PSVR 1, even though the modes sometimes were a bit naff, they kept tacking stuff onto games. They were like this game, and then suddenly there's like a little tag on separate VR version and stuff like that. All of them seem to be like separate now, like full price separate releases. There doesn't seem to be as many. Oh, you already have the game. Oh, you've got a VR. Like the only one I can think of is Gran Turismo, and Resident Evil Village. The rest of them seem to be like, oh, you have to buy this in VR only. You can't just play the game you've already got. Like Bulletstorm VR's coming out next month, and I cannot wait for it. I'm hoping I get a code for that because it looks amazing. I love Bulletstorm. Those are the types of games I want. Big, dumb, like over-the-top shooters. And this one, like I say, you can buy Bulletstorm for like £2 nowadays, but the VR version is going to cost $32.99 separately.
Yeah.
We need more VR modes. That's what we want. And also port the PSVR 1 versions over to the new controllers. There's no way you're telling me you can't make those the light bulbs, the controls not work with these nice new controllers. It's just 1, money, 2, laziness. Easy peasy. They could even up-res the resolution of the screen, like the visuals. That's all they have to do. But I don't think they want to do that. Astro
VR, for example, didn't even use the Move controllers, did it? It was purely DualShock. So they could easily do a remaster of that and bring it over and enhance the feature set. But yeah, maybe the next full scope Astro game will have some VR element to it because that dev team seemed to like it a lot. But
yeah,
Scott in chat's got a follow-up question. Do you think it was a mistake for Sony to focus on VR?
I would say because they kind of just dropped the focus. Yes, if they were going to continue it and give it a big push, then I don't see why not. Their VR headset is awesome, and it's probably the most affordable headset of its caliber that I've played. Like, I remember a guy I used to know had like a Rift, and it was expensive, and it was meh. And honestly, it's such a good, like, it feels great. It's improved in every way, and yes, it's expensive, but compared to like the Valve Index and stuff, it's not expensive. So if they'd supported it more, I feel like that gamble would have paid off. But I don't know whether VR's hit its peak and we're on the petering way out of it now. It's like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like VR's the in thing apart from if you work at Meta. Do you know what I mean?
Well, Meta's losing billions, aren't they?
Yeah, but he's a billionaire and he's like, he does what he wants. He's like, I'm going to do jiu-jitsu and I'm going to get you these avatar legs. That's it. That's
the legs. Yeah, I remember that, the whole legs.
David Cohen's put he remembers Nintendo advertising VR. That wasn't really VR though. That was like red and black lines. Like it was like a depth thing that messes with your eyes, basically. Not true VR.
Yeah, I think on Scott's question, I don't think it's a mistake because it's not as if like have they focused on it? You know what I mean? Like apart from bringing out the headset and then like 1 or 2 dedicated games, like it's almost as if they've kind of gone, we want to play in this space. We think it's worthwhile to do so. So we're going to put a lot of effort into making a really good headset. But beyond that, like what's the future? What future plans do they have from a first party perspective to support it? Like we don't know at the minute, really. I mean, we don't know a lot about kind of PlayStation's software roadmap anyway at the moment. I think they kind of, as you said, Ash, they had that big push initially, and then it's kind of petered out a little bit. I'm sure there will be games that they kind of focus on in the future. But I just think, I think in VR generally, is it ever really going to become the main way you interact with a game? No, I don't think so. At least not in the next couple of 100 years. I think at the minute it's just, a bunch of companies really wanted to try and push forward some innovation in that area because I think it's going to be a big growth area, which it potentially will be. But really, it's only going to be like that once you get the costs down of buying one of these headsets, because that's a big prohibitive element at the moment, and that stops big user bases, and in turn that stops them, developers and publishers really focusing on VR, because it's like, what kind of return are you going to get for releasing a game on PSVR 2, for example? It's just a bit of a weird subcategory of the gaming industry at the moment. So lot of potential there, but I think there needs to be, I think I'm glad Sony are in it and that they're focusing on it, because at least you have one of the, out of the three main platform holders for console, at least you have someone that's actually like, we think this is worthwhile, so we're going to put some effort into it. But I don't think it's been a mistake for them to go into it. Well, clearly they don't, because I think if they wanted to cut their losses, they would have done so after PSVR 1, but they think it's still worthwhile. So I
think my follow-up to that would be is, did it come out at the wrong time? Because when it released, we literally were coming out of COVID, inflation and everything else, the way the state the world was in, with, like, money-wise, and they released it. Was it the February they released the headset?
I agree with you here, because like if they released it now, ready for Christmas this year, and they're like, we've got Ghostbusters, we've got this, we've got that, boom, probably could have give everything a little bit more polish, boom, it would have landed with a bit more of a splash. However, I think because they launched it with like a small amount of games, it sort of petered out, and then it has a little pops with games, but then if you're not seeing it all the time, so in a way they probably were just happy to get the money back from, because COVID probably delayed it anyway, plus cost money and everything, so they probably wanted to start getting a recoup. But I do feel like if they'd have held it back till now and launched it with this many games, people would have been like, wow, this is fantastic. But because it started with a small amount, even though it's growing, every month it's growing, I don't think people see that. It's the same with like Xbox Red Ring of Death. Everyone will still say, oh, Red Ring of Death, even though they fixed that eventually and moved on and it was fine. Same with other stuff. Like, everyone always remembers the negatives and they don't focus on the positives. So first impressions got to be really fantastic. So
yeah, I agree. And also, I don't think there was ever really a good time to release a 500 or 450, however much it costs, pounds add-on effectively to an existing, like, there's never a good time to do that, whether you're in an inflationary period or not, because it's not as if it's going to fly off shelves, right? So it's expensive, and that's the one thing that is prohibitive about PSVR 2, is that you need a PlayStation 5. So actually your all-in amount is closer to £1,000 than it is, the 500 for the headset. Whether they released it in February or now or 2024 in the holidays, as long as it's that price, which it was always going to be, because it's obviously a really great piece of hardware, and it's actually, in terms of the pantheon of VR headsets, it's towards the higher end. It's one of the higher end ones. So there's never really a good time. So I think that was probably as good a time as any, and also because there weren't many games coming out then, so people were maybe more minded to pick it up in a lull period, where if you dropped it 2 weeks ago, like, how much attention are you going to get at that period where everybody's like, well trying to buy 4 or 5 different games as well, that I'm really interested in, so VR is not a priority for me. So
I must say though, the having PSVR 2 on my PlayStation makes feel like my PlayStation 5 is more valuable and a better choice as well, because it feels like, oh, look at this, it's a premium product.
Yeah.
In terms, like, not crapping on any other consoles, because like I say, I probably play my PlayStation less than every other console I own, like this gen. It's sort of like my exclusive console and odd other little bits that get chucked onto PS Plus for multiplayer. Having like all these cool premium experiences though make me feel like my purchase was still worthwhile.
Yeah.
Even as a third console. Do you know what I mean? Like, my majority, like 95% of my gaming's on Xbox. Then I go to Switch for a handful, and then the trickles down to my PlayStation. But I still feel like at least my PlayStation was worth the money, because I get to have this very affordable entry into very premium virtual reality. So
Yep.
Oh, there's obviously negatives to that as well. Like it's not for everyone and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I agree.
But like Scott says, it probably will never be mainstream. I don't see it being. I don't think it'll ever be popular. I think the
No.
people that play VR are the same people that will buy new VR headsets. I think it's just it's like iPhone people. Your new iPhone comes out, your new Android. They're the ones that upgrade. They don't really see you don't see like massive gains in the amount of people with mobile phones. It's just upgrading, and it's same with VR. I feel like the core people that love VR have got it. Yeah, you're gonna get a few more people picking it up. It's like Oculus. They boomed because they did that like £200 like, and it was a rubbish headset though, wireless headset. May as well have just been a phone slapped to your face. But that boomed because it was super cheap. And I saw loads of people buying it that Christmas and like in Black Friday deals and stuff. But as soon as that died off, they didn't upgrade to like the £900 one because it wasn't. It was like parents like, oh, £200, that's a Christmas present sorted. You can't get that with like normal VR, like proper VR. So,
sorry.
No, go on then. What were you saying? I was just reading chat. That was all.
I was just going to say, like, from like the actual hardware perspective, is it comfier than the PSVR 1 to wear? Is it, because like with the PSVR 1, you had them stupid rubber flaps on the side that after a few hours of sweat started to slowly peel away. Does it cut all the light out?
Yeah,
inside out tracking is that a big leap for that, or would you have preferred the useless camera they brought out that doesn't work for anything? Those sort of things like the haptics.
It's fantastic. The haptics feel amazing. The just the stuff, the headphones you get, like the earbuds you get with the headset, are comfy, and the sound quality from them is great. It's like so immersive when you've got the headphones on, like the ears in, and you've got the headset on. It's got I'm sure it's got a better fan inside, so it doesn't mist up as much. I'm not saying it doesn't mist up now and again. Like when you get hot and sweaty, it still mists up now and again. But I remember the PSVR 1, I was wiping it every like 2 seconds to get. Whereas the PSVR 2, I think I've only ever had to clean it once, like properly, because it was getting steamy. Comfort, it's lighter, it fits better on your head. There's like, you can pull it forward, you can tighten it and everything. You can customize it to how big a face you need. It's easier to fit with glasses, and I've got big chunky glasses. I don't have little glasses, and I can fit in it fine. You don't have like the big massive like light coming through, which ruins the experience when you're wearing glasses, like you did with the PSVR 1. You can even get glasses, screen inserts and stuff if you want to spend more money. I don't bother with them, but you can if you really wanted. You can get custom prescription inserts for the PSVR 2 officially, so you don't have to wear your glasses.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a lot better in terms of comfort, as you say. Lighter, fits better. The sweet spot in terms of optimal clarity is much better as well.
Yeah.
So it's more generous.
Yeah, much wider field of view in a lot of games. I mean,
wider field. Yeah.
There are a lot of customization options in this. Like, and I kept getting annoyed with the Horizon one because it kept minimizing my screen, going smaller, the field of view. You can turn that off, and the performance may suffer slightly, but I'd rather it suffer slightly and not keep getting the picture smaller and bigger. But then other people may want a bit more fluidity because they get motion sick. So just it minimizes your field of view to sort of keep it running at a solid frame rate as such. In some games.
Rate? Is it does it aim for like a 4K 60, or is it?
Well, it's not 4K.
No,
is it upscale? Because it didn't say something about it being like upscale 4K or checkerboard, something like that.
What is the PSVR 2 resolution? I shall tell you.
It's got an eye-by-eye resolution, which is quite high. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head.
The PSVR 2 has a dual OLED panel with a 4K display resolution and 90Hz, 120Hz frame rate. Yeah. Each display has a resolution of 2000 times 2040 pixels. The display also supports HDR and uses Fresnel lenses. I don't know what that means, but sounds really fancy.
Yeah. Yeah, and then performance. It depends on the game, but most games, like the higher end games, are running at 90 hertz, like the more visually demanding. But sometimes they're interpolated, which means it's not quite the same. But think of it a bit like DLSS frame generation, where it's not a real 90 hertz, but it outputs as something that looks like it to your eye, so that, because basically 60 hertz is effectively too low a frame rate for VR. If you were running stuff at 60 FPS, you would induce motion sickness like instantly, basically, because it's too choppy. It needs to be higher. So and then some games will run at a native 120 FPS. Usually the less demanding ones.
I suppose you may or may not have seen anything for this, or something you've looked into. I don't know. What about, let's say, accessibility? If someone with disabilities, whether it be vision, hand coordination, anything like that sort of thing, have you seen in any of these games anything in them sort of options like color blindness and things like that would someone who had disabilities, disabled, everything like that, would be able to experience PSVR and get the same sort of enjoyment or level of enjoyment out of it? Or is there any games that you have seen that you could possibly point out which could someone may be interested in, or anything you've come across?
I honestly don't look at the accessibility options because I don't need that.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound horrible, but I tend to just switch it on and play. There are, like I say, this has improved seated gameplay, though. Like the PSVR 1, you sat down, it didn't work half the time. You had to stand up, whereas it has been very much improved. And I sit down for a lot of games to play it, and that's massively improved. There's a lot of games that have, you can push and change and heights and everything of the displays and the text, and you can have subtitles and stuff like that. So there are a lot of options like that in it, but it's still a VR headset that you have to pretty much use both hands for. So if you are disabled, it's probably not something you're going to want to play anyway, but there are a lot of accessibility options I have seen. I've used a lot of like the field of vision ones and stuff, especially in that the drum rock one, where I moved the drum kit to exactly where it was comfortable for me to play and everything like that. But I haven't honestly dived deep into it. I would honestly recommend looking, but I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't a huge amount of them, because it's still, like I say, it's a VR headset that you need two hands for to play pretty much every game.
Yeah, although there are some games where I can imagine, like for accessibility purposes, they'd be perfect for pretty much everyone.
Oh yeah, true.
So like before your eyes, for example, you don't need any controllers for that. It's literally just, it uses the eye tracking tech to check when you're blinking, and you can just move your head, and that's it. And you can play the whole game like that.
I bought that in a sale recently. I haven't played it yet. So
it's very good. Yeah,
I'm going to be doing a review of it over Christmas. It's one of my games I've put aside ready for Christmas. It looks fantastic. It looks like a really nice indie game.
Yeah, it's only like 3 hours or something like that. 3 hours long. You finish it in an evening quite easily.
Oh, nice.
But as an experience, it's quite a emotional, moving experience, I found, and very clever tech, to be able to change the world on a blink.
That is amazing.
So it's really, really cool.
There you go. All depends on the game for you there, BMG.
Yeah.
I wonder if maybe because of the I can't remember the name of the controller that's coming out for people with disabilities. I can't remember the name of it. I know they have announced it, and I think they announced a release date or pre-order date, but I can't remember the name of it. But I'm wondering if there's going to be like a possible, maybe in the future, nothing short term, maybe long term, when that could be integrated into be used with the PSVR. Maybe there's going to be an option where down the line they come out with games that people will be able to use that do have disabilities, where they could also use one of these controllers to help give people that VR experience. Because we're seeing it more and more in games, both Xbox and PlayStation, where all the accessibility options making it easier for people to play games that they would not necessarily be able to play. I know UK Dazarus, he's had a lot of experience in this with, because he's had a stroke, so he's has less use of one hand, but still can play games. And I know he looks quite a lot into the accessibility and use some of the accessibility features. So maybe in the future it's something they could adopt to try and include more and more people to be able to experience it. Maybe.
Yeah, it's a good question actually. I don't know if they have integration with PSVR 2 games. I think it'd be really cool if they did. I just don't know how. I think it's really difficult, isn't it? Like, how does that work in certain games where you rely on a gyroscope, in your controllers to do things?
Yeah.
But then again, in most games that have a gyroscope, there's like multiple move modes, right, where you can change to suit however you want to play. So I think you probably could.
Maybe something with the eye tracking or something like that.
Yeah.
iPhone have it, where you can turn on accessibility options where you can literally do everything with just moving your eyes, and it's tracking your eyes to go into whatever option you need, messages and stuff like that. So it's probably something that's going to be further down the line. I don't think it's anything immediate, because it's possibly it's something they've looked at and thought at this stage it's not something they could integrate or work in, or maybe they're working on something for actual VR that could help. Maybe, you never know. It'd be cool though. Because the more people that can experience it, because it's you're sort of limiting that player base as well, that not everybody can use it. But you never know. It's an interesting thought.
Yeah, it's something I'd love to see. And do you know what I'm also baffled of? They never put a VR mode into that Dreams either. Like, this is built for that.
Would have made sense.
Do you know what I mean? It's just so weird.
Yeah, particularly because that was a lot of that was based around the Move controller. So you'd think that like it is built for some kind of like motion interaction, or at least you could use it. So yeah, it's a bit weird, isn't it? Not that we'll get it now, but it's a shame, really, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm just saying, do you not think that could have helped as well? Like, you could build games in VR and stuff. I just think it would have been an easy win. So
I think it was rumored for ages as well, wasn't it? Like, there were rumors for ages they were going to bring a VR mode out, and then
they cancelled it. Basically,
moving on now. Yeah, moving on now. We've lost 20% of our workforce. See ya.
Bloody hell. So, chat, any questions, put them in, and we'll go and answer a few of them in a little bit. So, if you've got any PSVR 2 questions, VR in general sort of thing, feel free to ask them. I'm just going to quickly go over one of the games I've been playing recently. So, this one is pretty cool. It's a on-rails shooter roguelike. So, it sounds weird, but it's like an over-the-top sort of fun shooter game. The sort of stuff I love. So this is Gazlers. Now, Gazlers is obviously out now. It came out on the 4th of October. And it's like super cel shaded. It has that like cartoony, sort of Saturday morning cartoony-esque aesthetic to it. And I had an absolute ton of fun so far in what I've been playing it. It's one of those games where you can do like a short run at a time. And then when you die, you basically start again. You get like non-permanent upgrades as you progress through the game, like in the waves and stuff. And then you get like permanent upgrades that you can use and buy between runs. But it's silly. And literally it is just an on-rail shooter where you're literally on a train with big, massive guns blasting all these enemies coming at you on screen. But it's absolutely hilarious, and it's just one of those easy to play VR games. Like, a lot of the times it gets a bit finicky, and you just don't even have to think in this, really. There's different biomes and stuff like that you'll progress through, so there's different areas, tons of different enemies, but it's all about obviously doing the runs and keeping going. So I thought it was really awesome. I've only scratched the surface on it. I'm not even gonna lie, but it's crazy. So like you can block attacks, you can dodge attacks. You've got like your guns. Different guns do different things and stuff like that. Yeah, honestly, this is one I would recommend if you're new to VR. You want something simple where this wouldn't really mess you up too much with the like motion sickness because you're sort of in a set point. Yes, you're moving along like a track, but you're not having to sort of spin round all the time and like move left, right, and stuff and everything. It's a very much stationary experience. So I prefer these type of experiences because, like I say, I hate getting motion sickness. There was one on the PSVR 1, and it was like a Neon Tanks game. I don't even know if it was on that demo disc one where you had all the different ones, but my God, I played that and I felt sick for about 3 days afterwards. Really messed me up. But the game is single player. It uses the vibration function in the headset, and you have to use the controllers, and it obviously uses the vibration function and trigger effects in the controls as well. And it can be played, obviously, sitting or standing with room scale as well. So for anyone that's interested, Gazzlers. And yeah, it's a fun little game. It's developed by Bolt Blaster Games, and it's from publisher Odders Lab. So it's also available on the Quest as well, I believe, Quest 3. So check that one out. Like I say, I had a ton of fun playing it, and I like stuff like this. There you go. Shameless plug.
Does look fun, to be fair.
It is. It's not one that was on my radar, but then I got sent it,
Yeah.
and I was like, this is a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
there's not a lot of story to it, but you don't need it. It's just like robots and like monsters and like enemies and stuff coming at you. And it's sort of like, it kind of reminds me of like a cartoony sort of Borderlands meets like Mad Max style environment in terms, and or maybe the orcs in 40k where they've all got like the handmade vehicles and stuff, like the Orc Boys. It kind of reminds me of that in terms of like how silly it is and what it all looks like, but it's just dumb fun, and I can live with that. Am I selling it to you, BMG?
Slightly.
It's an indie game. We don't play them.
Oh yeah, he only plays.
Yeah, I was just trying to be polite because I know indie gamers.
Should have said it was made by Naughty Dog, and then he'd probably pick it up.
Oh yeah. I'm a AAA snob. I can't help it. Can't help it.
I literally, in the time of me talking about that and watching that trailer, there's loads of stuff come through, so I apologise. I'll just keep. I'll just check I haven't missed anything.
Do you think though, like maybe PlayStation, Sony should? I wouldn't say. At first I thought maybe spin up a first-party VR studio, but I think that would mean taking devs from other studios that are working on, the other AAA projects and other games and things like that. Should they acquire a VR studio? Because there's a lot out there. There's a lot more than I thought. All these different devs making these smaller games, but with a bigger budget, a lot bigger budget in the backing of Sony, they could make some really amazing things, even if they were smaller experience. 1, 2 a year, something like that. Acquire a studio and first party and just have them literally, you're making our first party content, here's all the IP, pictures what you want to do, and see where we go from there. Because it doesn't have to be anything that connects to ongoing games at the moment, like God of War or anything like that, but you could make a smaller experience in different parts of the different worlds where they could just, that's what they could do. Right, we've got all this first party IP, big budget, let's make something. I think that would be a better option than having these studios that are all making these big games and then having a side project making these smaller games that, Scott, mentioned, just said before, one wasn't Insomniac developing some games for VR, which they were. I think they had 2 in the works, and before they were acquired, which I think since have been shelved as they just focused on like the Spider-Man IP at the moment and Ratchet and Clank. And I don't think they're going to see light of day again. But if they acquire a VR studio, there we go. Because we've got our first party ones, big studios. They've acquired Nixis, which is they do all the ports to PC. They acquired Blue
That's
Point
probably
Games.
their best, I would say, bar Insomniac. That's probably their best purchase so far because
Blue Point. Don't forget Blue Point.
Blue Point are good.
Blue Point are good, but they've got a lot more value out of it. What they probably paid for that porting team than they have for Blue Point so far. So
yeah, don't get me wrong, but they're sort of moving that direction where they're instead of getting what they've got to do these things, they're bringing in right. Nixis, you make PC ports. You're amazing at what you do. Bring you in. These are the games you're going to port over this period of time. Blue Point, these games need remastering, remaking. You did an amazing job with Dark Souls, wasn't? Yeah, Dark Souls, Demon Souls. Sorry, amazing job with Demon Souls, which is probably still one. I don't play Souls-like games, but I think it's still one of the best PlayStation 5 games that is out still now on the console. We're halfway through this generation
still
already.
One of the best looking as well. I played it the other day. I couldn't believe how good it still looks.
So there's the potential that they've got there. So maybe it's something they're looking at. Maybe they are looking at a VR studio that they can acquire and put a bigger budget behind and see what they can do. I think it's a possibility we're going to see that. I'd like to see that. If you want to make VR better than it is, instead of relying on current studios taking people off projects to work on it as a side project, so to speak.
Yeah, in hindsight, it's a bit of a shame the Order flopped because Ready at Dawn eventually effectively became a VR studio and Meta acquired them. So they would have been an ideal studio to own now in terms of developing dedicated VR games. But yeah, I think their route forward is going to be, we'll develop a game, and if we have resources to do some VR element to it, we will do. Like, for example, something like if the Twisted Metal rumor is real, if that game is developed, then conceivably you might be able to do a VR mode for that. I think, but I think it's an investment as well, isn't it? In a dedicated VR studio, how much return are you going to get on something that they make? It depends on how much money you pump into them, which they may be a bit reticent to do if they don't think it's going to sell that many copies. So it's kind of a push and pull in that respect, isn't it? So difficult.
Yeah, I can't say it better than that.
Yeah. Do a Last of Us 2 VR mode, and I want to play as Abby during the first couple of hours.
Oh, that's funny. That would make people cry, though.
Yeah, people would be devastated, emotionally scarred. More so.
Scott put, "Where do you see VR in 5 years?" I see it being much, probably lighter headsets, better graphics in terms of like these mobile processors and everything we're getting are so much better at the moment. I mean, look at what runs on an iPad this year. But I still don't think it'll grow much. I think the price will still be high. I think it'll still be clunky. It'll not be for. They need to make it so it works better for people of all types of eyesights and stuff like that, because you automatically limit yourself there and then. Same with like disabilities and stuff. They need to make it accessible to all if they want to see it grow. So, but I honestly don't think VR will be anywhere different. I think Meta will still be losing tons of money, but you'll now have creases in your Meta avatar trousers, and that's about it. I don't think there'll be much else, honestly. Maybe it'll all be glasses then, but that's only 5 years, so probably not. It's probably not.
Yeah, I think 5 years' time it'll probably be much where it is today. Yeah, it's like it'll
slightly
be,
smoother, maybe slightly better frame rates, but nothing massive.
Yeah, hardware advancement, so you'll have, certainly better quality games on standalone wireless headsets, probably more impressive games on dedicated hardware, link-ins like on PlayStation 5 with PSVR 2. But I think in terms of audience, is it going to grow massively in that time? Probably not, unless cost of buy-in drops significantly across all of those headsets. So yeah, I think it'll be much so much. I suppose as well, it depends on how, what a Meta going to do. I know everybody mocks them, but I think they're the only ones trying to actually push it forward as something more mainstream. But the problem is that most of the things they do are not good, are they? So I was going to say a different word then, but not. Yeah, they're just not great. So but yeah, I think you followed it up. Scott said 10 to 15 years is a better time frame, but actually 10 to 15 years probably much the same.
They're going to plug it into your ass, and you'll get the full force, and then BMG will be day one in it then.
Yeah, full force. They'll have a Jim Ryan simulator at that point.
Oh, don't!
So you can live.
I would buy that. I would buy that.
Yeah.
Jim Ryan simulator controlling PlayStation.
Just tossing it off. Virtual ABK court cases.
That's it.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
That'd be awesome.
So good. That'd be so good.
Let's get a pitch together.
And then I think Scott also asked, do you think having VR modes of traditional games is enough? Or do you need dedicated VR games like the VR Astro game? And I think the answer to that is it just depends. I think to push it forward properly, or to feel like you're getting proper value, you need dedicated standalone things that are built for VR. Like in an ideal world, you would have like one or two things a year that were on the scale and scope and budget of something like Half-Life Alyx. I think that would be fantastic then, because you'd be like, oh wow, I've got some incredible actual games. But I think the route forward at the moment for the next few years, at least for Sony, is probably just to do tie-in modes and maybe drop a couple, here and there of dedicated VR games if they can spare the budget.
I miss the days on the PSVR one when we got all those advertisement games where they were just like 10-minute long tat. They were all free. They were like, watch this video of this band playing and be Spider-Man for 5 seconds, and you can do like one web shot and stuff like that. Good days, good times, always good.
They did a demo. I wish they'd done another demo like they did for PSVR, because that was really cool. Where you had all the things swirling around and you looked around.
I liked where you were in that shark cage one and the shark and
that
all
was
the.
Great.
That I put people on that and they really enjoyed that, and it sold them on VR a little bit, but. The fact that they don't include, I mean, obviously there's a version which includes Horizon, but if you don't play that, if you don't get that version, you don't get a game. Like, this should be like a pack-in game with like short experiences to sell it. Like, that was the whole point. I love that demo disc where you could pick that cigarette up at the beginning and like throw it at the guy's face and stuff when you're in that little heist mini game.
Yeah.
And you were shooting out the windows and stuff. Just stuff like that. It doesn't take a lot. So,
what was that game? The Sony London game? Was it Blood and Truth?
Something like that. I never played the full game. I just played the little test thing they made, the beta thing. But shamelessly going into a segue into another game I've been playing recently. So I'm going to talk a couple of other games today. I'm going to do either a full video or a full article on the website going in a bit more detail into these, giving them like proper reviews and stuff. But it seems a silly thing not to talk about and show them off quickly while we're here talking about the PSVR 2. So the next one is probably one you're going to take this the wrong way because you all in the chat do it. It's called Toss. Now, in this game, you basically play as a monkey, and you have crash landed on this like cloud planet, and you have to collect parts to rebuild your spaceship. Now, the way to get around is basically doing parkour, and oh my god, if you thought the Horizon gave you a workout, you're going to feel sore by the end of this, because there's over 75 levels, and it's like, imagine taking the jungle gym stuff to like the next level. Like, you're having to jump from things to like one thing to another thing. You've got to like use your momentum and stuff. You've got to avoid like traps and stuff like that. And then if you do manage to get to the end of it, it then has a speed running mode to like beat the timer, and then it's got like global leaderboards and stuff like that. Now, graphically, it's a very simple game. It's bright and colourful, but there is a nice sort of variety to the different levels, and they are quite challenging. But if you don't like sort of like heights and like momentum-based gameplay and stuff, you might want to avoid this one. As you can see on the video footage, if you're watching this live, it's crazy. It's honestly crazy. It's not the best game I've ever played. Like I say, it's fun, but it is. You couldn't play this sat down. You're always moving. You're having to use your hands and stuff and claw your way around all these levels, and you have to sort of like shimmy along bars and like jump over gaps and stuff like that. It's crazy. It is fun, and it does allow you to like compete against other people because of the leaderboard. So it does have a bit of replayability there compared to some VR games. Why you'd want to try and beat the times, I've no idea, because I am slow at this game. Like, I'm like dying halfway through a level, so that's just me, unfortunately. I suck at it. But developed by Bolt Blaster Games, published by Odders Lab, and it's also available on Steam VR, Pico, and Quest VR headsets as well, I believe. But yeah, it's very, very fun. No, I've just said the wrong one there. It's not made by them. Ignore me completely. It's that's the one I just did earlier.
It looks bad.
It's from Vertigo. It's from Vertigo Games. So I don't know. I don't know why I said the same thing. I've got notes and I'm reading off the wrong note there. So my bad. My bad. It's late. It's been a long week. I'm tired. Sorry, everyone.
I think that actually looked quite fun.
It is. It's fun, but it's one of those games you wouldn't play from start to finish. I'll tell you now.
Yeah, I don't know how long I'd last in that. Looking at the movement, I find that so, how do you move in the game? Like, are you having to like actually
pull? It's like pulling. It's like pulling yourself.
Okay, so
you're like hanging. You're based. Always hanging.
You're right. I see.
It's like you're on. It's like you're on like a jungle gym all the time. So you have to like pull yourself and like push off and stuff like that and grab onto things.
That might be okay actually from a motion sickness perspective. If you're not actually having to move in a sense of normal movement, but it's all momentum based and you're having to pull, that might not be too bad.
It does use good tracking abilities. Like, it does take the tracking of the PSVR like really well, and it is quite responsive, which is good, which is what you want. If it was rubbish, you'd suck at this game. But it's a lot of swinging, tossing and stuff like that, literally yourself around.
Oh, you're tossing.
Don't bring it down, you. Don't you bring it down.
The peeled banana next to the word toss and the monkey like going to it just.
But it's good. It's fun. It's one of those like weird little games that you could play a few levels at a time, but I don't think it would. You wouldn't play it for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours over and over. But yeah, so that's on PSVR 2. Ignore everything I said previously because I was reading my my other game notes. So by Vertigo Games, who were kind to send me a copy as well. So yeah, it's one of those ones that I feel like if you were really good at it and you were good at the momentum and the movement, you'd be flying through it. But I feel like that could make you feel a bit sick because of the speed, basically. And if you don't like the swinging momentum and stuff, it may not be may not be ideal for you. So just a warning there. So what are your sort of standout games then, Luke? Obviously you talked about the one with the blinking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
so that's definitely a standout. And then the other one I really enjoyed, which is another one you can just pick up and play just for a bit and then put it down, is I forgot the name now, Pistol Whip. So that's a really cool game. And that's like it's on the rails, so you don't do any movement. It's just pure on the rails. It just guides you through a level, a bit like kind of a Time Crisis-esque thing, except it's kind of a straight run. And first person, obviously, and it's a shooter. So it's like kind of rhythm based. So there are dedicated songs for every level, and you get more points by shooting along with the beat effectively. And it's kind of like, it makes you feel a bit John Wick-esque, I'd say, is the best way to describe it.
I'm looking at the footage right now. It looks pretty awesome. It reminds me, like, in a look of that. It was on. I swear it was on Xbox as well as VR. It has the same sort of graphical style to that other shooter game, but where they only moved when you shot or something like that.
Oh, Super Hot.
Yeah,
Super
but
Hot.
it looks nicer than that.
Yeah. It is. So it's really satisfying. You do feel really cool. I'm sure you don't look it, but you feel very, very, very cool when you're playing it. You can like customize all your guns as well. There are kind of cool. Like different types of pistols and stuff. So you can have like old timey revolvers as an example, which is really cool, or you can have like kind of super modern normal pistols. And there's like a whole bunch of levels, like lots of different levels, all of which have their own theme, their own music and stuff like that. Or there are like there's free campaigns in it effectively, which kind of tell a story as well, and then put you through a bunch of dedicated levels for that. So yeah, it's just really fun, really, really fun. If you get hit, I think it's like twice, then you die, you have to restart. You can obviously dodge all the bullets as well. So you move side to side. There are some obstacles in the level where you would move side to side, stood in place, to kind of not hit them, and then you reload by like dropping the guns down below like your hips basically and bringing them back up, and that will also reload for you. So it's just really good. It's I think it's like £20, something like that.
I think I'm gonna have to pick that up. It looks really interesting.
Yeah, it's very fun. Controllers work really well with that. They've got the kind of adaptive triggers in the trigger pulls for the weapons, which obviously is super like it's very good in a normal first person shooter, like a flat screen one, when you've got the triggers and stuff like that. It's even better when you're in VR, because then you actually kind of you are under the illusion that you've got real pistols, even though you haven't. So yeah, that's a really cool game. You can get a lot of hours. It's kind of like, it almost reminds me of like if Beat Saber had guns and all the blocks were enemies, like people. That's kind of what the feeling I get from it.
Nice. So, yeah, I definitely want to play that. Looking at it, it looks awesome. Like,
yeah,
I've not actually seen that before, so I'm gonna have to check that out. That's the problem. That's one thing I will say. Like, you seem to miss things because they don't seem to promote them on the store half the time. You have to sort of go deep just to find them. So I was like, half the stuff, like I say, when I've been looking for the show today, I'm like, oh, that's out. I didn't even know that. I should try that. Oh, that looks cool. So there's been a few there that I've seen. So yeah, definitely interested in that.
Yeah.
Checking if anyone in chat said, Scott said something about AR. Any love for AR games, and do you think AR has a part of the future? As any part of the future? Possibly. I mean, I don't have any complaint about AR. It's just normally naff. Like,
yeah, I think that's the problem.
I remember having AR on the DS or the 2DS, and it was naff. I've seen all these glasses with AR and these phone games with AR. Pokemon Go is a prime example of naff AR gameplay. What's the point? Just play normal Pokemon. It's a better experience. Like, go for a walk, enjoy the park, enjoy your time out, touch that grass, then come home, play Pokemon. Much better experience than Pokemon Go. It's just, I think AR could be amazing if done correctly, but I've yet to see an AR game that makes me go, wow, this is awesome. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah. I think a lot of potential for it. It could be really interesting. Apple could do some interesting stuff with the Apple Vision and stuff like that. But
yeah,
again, that's even further behind than VR is at this point.
yeah.
So
Like Microsoft pushed that, and then the only thing they push it for now is for shooting people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like HoloLens could have been really impressive had they continued really pushing it, but they haven't. So
I mean, they got that ugly conker though. I mean, what more did they want?
Oh yeah. What else did they? Didn't they have that? I remember they did that HoloLens demo, which was like, wasn't it Minecraft?
Yeah,
but it was like top down, like you could kind of have Minecraft in front of you and like interact on a top down.
I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure it was.
That was really cool looking. That looked really cool, and it felt like they just and they never brought that concept to market or anything like that.
They did that Conquer as well, didn't they? If you remember.
Yeah, but it was rubbish. It was rubbish.
Yeah.
All of it. I like that idea where they had it like it would expand your consoles, like your TV's space, but then they've never touched it since. So
I don't. So I think it's just far behind. So I think the only company that's going to really push in that direction and really who knows how much they're going to push in terms of games is Apple. Yeah. And even then, you've got to go out and buy a Vision for, I don't know, what is it, $3,000-$4,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah, but you can get a stand cheap for only at £1,000 for the stand.
Yeah, so there you go. So actually, you're saving yourself some money, aren't you?
Isn't that crazy? We're talking about like PSVR 2 being expensive. You can pretty much buy two of them for the price of a stand for this HoloLens thing on, or whatever it's called on Apple.
Bargain.
Yeah, exactly. What's that? That sounds like a good deal to me.
It's Apple. Apple's like...
It'll still sell. It'll still sell out.
Oh, yeah. It wouldn't surprise me that they'll sell more stands than the headsets because people are just weird. I never get that. I never get. I go into Meadowhall every now and again. The Apple store is always overflowing with people. Why? Who goes to an Apple store to buy it? You can just literally go online and order when it comes next day. There's not like you have to try them out. You know what you get. It's like, oh, there's an Apple phone. Oh, look, this is a new Apple phone. What does it do? Exactly the same thing. Oh, great. They don't. The whole user interface is exactly the same. So I just read that in chat, Muppet, as your wife was going out with a US cardiac surgeon. I was like, mate, you do what you've got to do. You have a happy relationship.
No,
Apple Store gives free.
I think he means his wife's going to the US.
Yeah, but as I was flicking it looked like he was just saying that his wife was with a US surgeon. So hey,
oh geez,
she got sick here. She's moving on up the chain. Now I'm going to talk about the last game I've been like sort of properly playing. I have been playing another one, but I haven't put enough time into it to really give it any sort of real push. And that was, what's it called now? Seventh Guest or something it's called. It's like a horror one. The Seventh Guest. That's actually quite good. So once I've actually put some time into that, I'll do a full-on review of it. But yeah, so far it's like a creepy detective-y mystery game, and it's quite nice. But like I say, I've only scratched the surface, so I won't bore you all with that one. But what I have been playing, let me try and find a good trailer of it anyway.
So are you a creepy detective? Or was it a creepy game, do you mean? Because you said
it's like you're in like a spooky mansion uncovering, like doing it like a mystery. But like I say, I literally switched it on to check it worked. I haven't had time to properly play it, but what I saw of it looked really nice. So I'll go into more detail on that on a future episode or on a review or something when I've done it.
So you're not like a detective like who hangs around schools or anything like
that? No, none of that. But the last one I've been playing is probably the most physically demanding one, C Smash VRS. Now, this is like a sports game, I would describe it as. you're basically playing like some form of like racquetball mixed with tennis, mixed with like squash, but it's like in like a futuristic sort of space setting. But it can be played multiplayer. If you've got obviously PS Plus, you can play this online, proper competitively against other people, and that's where it shines. So the trailers here aren't the best to show it off. I must admit, I was like, oh, I'll quickly get the trailer up, but it's it's based on an old Sega property, I believe, if I'm correct, and this is like a VR remastering of it. Now, graphically, it's very simplistic in what's shown, but in terms of gameplay, that's where it shines. Like, it's super smooth. It's like full body. Like, you need to get your full body into it because you're literally smacking it around. Like, if you've ever played, it's like playing Wii Tennis, but on like the next level. Do you know what I mean? So this one I've really, really enjoyed, and they have been updating it since launch as well with more content and stuff like that. So it's got co-op, AI bots and stuff like that, so you can play against other people. Yeah, this gets a sweat up. Oh my god. It's just like playing a proper round of tennis for me. I was knackered after it. Like, there's like more mini games and stuff where you have to like hit the ball to hit certain panels and break things and stuff like that and avoid barriers and stuff. So it's got like a single player-esque mode, but it also features versus multiplayer, co-op online and stuff like that as well. It's really, really good. Like, it's really hard to describe. Now, they've been at a load of events. They were at EGX. They were at WASD in London as well. I recommend this one. If you're into like your sports games, you like your Wii Tennis, you like playing like squash and racquetball and all that sort of stuff, you'll probably really enjoy this. And like I say, it's had a big chunky update in September, so loads and loads and loads and loads of extra content. And the fact that it plays so smoothly is probably the best thing about it. There's nothing worse than playing a fast-paced VR game and it's stuttering and looking like complete arse. So you can play it sat down. I wouldn't recommend playing this sat down. This is one of those games where you want to get up and like proper get into it, and you think you're like Tim Enman but better. We actually win. But it features like everything you need to know, and yeah, I've been really enjoying it. So shameless plug for C Smash VRS. Have we sold you yet, BMG? I'm trying to sell you on all these different types of games. You got your sports games, you got your driving games.
Yeah, I'm just glad you aren't showing me horror, because I don't do horror games. I
don't
like horror games.
I only like horror. Like, I like the horror shooter games, like the on-rail ones and stuff. But the Resident Evil on PSVR 1 broke me. It was horrible. Like, horror games already make me jump. Being in first person, I don't need people jumping out at me, scared little girls jumping out at me and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But like I say, that's another game, that C Smash VRS. You can play a couple of games for like half an hour, move on to something else, come back to it later and stuff. You can do the challenges, like the actual like challenge modes and stuff, or you can play competitively. All depends what you want to do, really, and I like that. And it's got a really nice like soundtrack as well, so you can't complain. It's one of those ones that gets you into the sort of rhythm and the beat of the gameplay. So check it out. Check it out.
Imagine if we got a wrestling game in VR.
Oh, I'd love it. I'd love it. There was a Kinect one. There was a Hulk Hogan Kinect game. It was terrible, like, but there is one out there. But yeah, I'd love a wrestling game. I'd be all up for that. That's what we want.
Buy some weak tables and chairs.
Yeah, yes. I'm surprised there isn't one for that slapping thing that they do in the US. That strange slapping league where they slap each other.
I love watching that. I just like keep getting it coming up on YouTube, and I just like get hooked watching it. Just grown men slapping each other so you can knock each other out. I think that's cool. I'd be good at that game. I could take a slap.
Imagine if it hit you properly. What they need is one of those like vests that like it hits you as you're playing games. So when you take a shot, it literally hits you with
There
like.
is a vest out. Funny enough, there is a vest out for that. And it actually links to Assassin's Creed Mirage currently. That's one game that I know of. You can get an Assassin's Creed Mirage special edition version. It's an actual vest you put on. So when you get hit and stuff, you get hit in different points of your body. And like the harder the shot, the more intense the whatever the feeling is that you get. But I think it's like stupid, like 600 quid, something like that. So it's.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I saw one where they had it was like a running machine you had to stand on, like a full movement running machine. I'm like, nah, I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. There's Among Us VR coming soon though, which is cool. Yeah, VR's like it's all down to eyes of beholder, really. There's some great games, there's some terrible games. I've just realised Paper Beast is VR compatible. I've got a copy of that. I was about to play to do. I don't know how it plays in VR, but I'll have to play that. It's on my list to play next week for review. So keep your eyes peeled for that one as well.
It'd be cool if, like, Dead by Daylight, they did Dead by Daylight VR.
I tell you what, shit me up. I played the Jurassic Park one, and even though it's like a cel-shaded one, and like the dinosaurs it's like Alien Isolation but with dinosaurs, and you have to hide yourself in a cupboard and stuff, and the raptors find you. Oh my god, that scared the crap out of me. Like when even though I know it's just a pixelated like 3D raptor, but it gets you on edge. So yeah, I'd like more games like that. But there's a good variety. I love there's a lot of strategy games on PSVR at the moment, like city builders and stuff, which are cool. Puzzle games. Loads of fitness style games. Like that Sea Smash is great for your fitness. I want to try some of these boxing ones and stuff like that as well, just to get the cardio up and stuff. There's all sorts. Weird, wonderful. There's a VR skating game I'd like to play. I don't know how that would work, because surely you'd have to move your feet, but apparently not. So I'm not sure who just said they watched SmackDown and it was rubbish. Oh, it's Daz, of course. He's an idiot. Mate, I got Sky yesterday, so I put it on let's put Sky on last night, and there was AEW on. I've never watched such a bag of shit in years. Like, AEW was awful. Like, the camera it just felt like it was an indie and it was horrible. The announcers, it sounds like us lot just chatting shit over the product, like, and not really know what's going on. It just was rubbish. I don't know how you guys. I like AEW All In was amazing, but that weekly show stuff, it just looked naff. SmackDown's on exactly. Oh my god, the corpse of Ric Flair here to die in the ring.
Come back out in the desert.
He's here to poison all of the new wrestlers with his Woo energy drink. I still like that. Ric Flair wanted to come back to celebrate his best friend Sting's retirement, but he's sticking around for 2 years after Sting goes. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's that about? Yeah. Retirement home.
If he's been paid, obviously Tony Khan's offered him a lot of money to come back.
Apparently he's getting paid by his energy drink. I'm surprised Hulk Hogan isn't. He'll be next. Hulk Hogan will pop up next. Eric Bischoff will be back. It's just going to be WCW. You know it'll be bad because next year David Arquette will be champion. So it's just the way it's going. So
classic. What was that film with David Arquette in where it was in WCW?
Yeah, that's why he won the title in WCW. I can't remember what it was called. It's a terrible film, but he won the title in real life because he was in that film. So
I want to watch that.
WWE is currently on a high. I like WWE, but
I don't know about that.
The weekly shows used to be rubbish, but it's currently like it's fantastic. We've got long-term stories, we've got factions. The only thing we're missing is more managers. So, but I'm trying to get into AEW, but the shows are rubbish. I'd rather watch TNA, and TNA are actually pumping out good stuff at the moment. Watch TNA.
No, Dynamite's really good. AEW. It's not as good as it has been.
I liked AEW at the beginning when it was like people I'd never heard of and stuff. Now it's just WWE rejects.
It's still all like the main focus is still on people like MJF, JY.
Oh, MJF
you
is an
know,
amazing
like,
talent. When
Adam
he came
Cole-
out in
like,
those little pink
like,
shorts and stuff to be with the Acclaim, that was funny.
like the
That
Acclaim,
saved that episode.
I know there's like, but like even like you know, some of the like veterans like Christian, for example, he's doing the best stuff he's ever done.
I wish they'd not brought Edge in, because Christian was smashing it. He doesn't need Edge.
I like Edge with
stopped
the
cleaning on his
story
coattails.
perspective, but yeah, but in fact, it's funny, isn't it? Because Christian is showing in that feud how good, like, Edge is kind of like he's been fine since he's coming, but he's kind of like boring compared to Christian.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, because Christian's doing
Dad's
so
dead,
much
is
good
he?
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but no, it's but Rampage is shit. Don't watch Rampage. Collision's all right, but
Bring back CM Punk.
yeah, bring him back again.
Give him a brand new show. We'll start another one just for him.
Yeah,
But yeah,
Collision 2.
Collision 2, yeah. Anyone watching, though, who works at AW, make an AW VR game. I don't know how. Do you know what they could do? You could do a VR game where it's like promos. You promoing off against people and stuff like that. That would work. I don't know how, but it would work more than the combat and stuff, but I'd be all for that.
You'd be all in.
Nah.
Oh my god! But I think that's it, really. Any last questions? It's not better than AEW is not better than WWE does. It's an okay alternative, but
No, it is. I agree with Daz.
It's behind TNA. TNA is better than AEW right now.
Stop.
Yes, it is. Don't you lie. Don't you lie to yourself.
I think you're
Don't you
misremembering.
lie to yourself.
AEW now is like the level TNA was back in like the AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe days when it was really good.
And just before,
it is nothing like
no,
post-Hulk Hogan
AEW
TNA.
is at the level TNA was when Bischoff and Hogan were ruining it. That's where
it's not even close
burning
to
it
that.
down.
It's nowhere near.
It's
You're basing this purely on Ric Flair, which is
and old people. Oh, there's so many old people.
Who else? There's him and Sting. They're the oldest people there.
I just sick of seeing Tony Khan on Twitter. Like, I don't like Vince McMahon. He's a sexual predator.
Yeah,
hires Ric Flair.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And like Tony Khan could.
Oh, do you know what AEW would do better without Tony Khan?
The only thing I find interesting about that AEW when they do the press conference and that Tony Khan just sits there and smiles and nods.
Like he's on crack.
While the wrestlers just say whatever they want, F blind, call like the whole CM Punk.
Do you know what? I love AEW though because of that, because WWE started doing the press shows. And
they're all like fan questions, aren't they?
They're amazing because they literally get like
fan questions.
Yeah, but did you watch the one with Cody Rhodes in though and Jey Uso where they're both like they've had a few too many bevies. They are drunk as skunk and they're just like yeet.
Yeet. Yeah, that was quite funny. But then there were those random like stupid fan questions where they were like, you know, would you wrestle Taylor Swift? And stuff like really bad. So there's like a balance to be like the Cody and Jey Uso one was actually really good because the question was quite good, and they were just pissed. So like that works quite well. But
yeah, it's good that they all push each other. That's what we want. So you got to sort of push each other to get better and better. And I feel like WWE's starting to step up now, which is good. So. Whether you want to believe that or not, I think it's much improved. So
you're going to see Conor McGregor in WWE soon.
I hope not. I hate when they bring in boxers and stuff like that. I didn't want to see Tyson Fury do his little song at the end of Clash at the Castle. I could have lived without that in my life. So
yeah, I don't know why they brought him in. That was stupid. That was absolutely awful.
Because they think he sells tickets, but he can't even win a fight anymore. But we're digressing. I'm going to close this episode off because we've gone from PSVR 2 being a decent option out there in VR. Admittedly, needs more games, needs a bit of TLC and love and attention from PlayStation to wrestling. And we should do a wrestling show one day because we always end up chatting about wrestling. So BMG, give us a sort of final thoughts, what you currently think about PSVR 2 then.
I, for me personally, right now, it's still something I wouldn't pick up unless Destiny 2 became...
What about Ghostbusters,
yeah.
though?
Nah, I've heard some bad things about the Ghostbusters VR, Ghost Lords. What is it? Something Ghost Lords or something like that. I've heard some bad stuff about it. That still not quite grabbed me. Yeah, I want to see more from it. For me, in order for me to pick it up, I would need to see a really good catalogue of games that I can weigh up and think, right, this is my spare time. Do I play a game as I'd normally play a game, or do I jump into VR? And it's got to be something that makes me want to jump into VR. And I've not had anything in a long time that's made me want to play VR. So as it stands now, it would be a no for me unless it came down to a really, really ridiculous price where I think it's couldn't pass up the opportunity to get it. But no, I'm not there yet for it. Not fully convinced to get it yet. But we'll see what the future holds. Next year we might see a load of games announced and stuff that maybe goes, oh, I've got to have that. But until then, it's like there's nothing really that's. I liked the look of the Star Wars game, and I thought, oh, this is brilliant. And then I think, hang on a minute, I'm sure I've seen this game somewhere before. It's just a port of the Quest one. I was like, no, okay, I'll pass for now. But if they brought out a really, really good social game or a full title, something like that, I would consider it. But at the moment, it's still a no for the moment. But it's still an impressive piece of tech. Big, build on the previous one and see what the future holds. But I've just got a feeling that they're going to let VR slip a bit more. This new guy that's interim CEO going to be taking over as interim CEO. He's more about mobile than anything else, isn't he? So it's like, will this kind of get pushed a bit more to the side until a full time whoever's going to take over steps up or steps in? It's just have to see what the next few years hold. You didn't convince me.
Well, we tried. What about you, Luke, then? Quick rundown of where you're at with PSVR 2.
Yeah, I think it's got good potential, and it's a great piece of hardware. Really, really good piece of hardware. It just needs more dedicated, high-end experiences. Effectively, if they can get that, and they don't have to be, all the time. Well, I think people understand that you can't have, a couple of those every year. But I think, it needs to amass a library of high-end VR experiences, which will be quite difficult. And I think by the end of its life cycle, it probably will have a number of really good games that are kind of built for VR and, first party as well. But we don't know about any of it yet, which is a bit annoying. So I think we just have to wait and see, really. But I'd certainly enjoy it, and I'll be playing more of it. And there's some good stuff coming up. So watch this space, basically.
Yeah, I think I'm exactly the same as you. It shows a lot of potential, but they've got to sort of commit to it and support it. And while there are some really cool looking games that have been announced, there's not enough, in my opinion, for next year that's been announced yet. So we need to see it. At least we're getting stuff like Among Us, a bit more well-known stuff, but a lot of it are indie titles, which aren't bad. That's not a dig at them at all, but you need to start pumping out some first-party tie-in VR games. You need some PSVR 2 exclusives to really sort of sell the system. And I feel like right now, while it is fun, and I will be playing it a lot more soon, I feel like it's not living up to its full potential just yet. But time will tell. We'll see what it's like this time next year. So
Superman game. We need a Superman game. That would be awesome. That would make me buy one. If they brought out where you just can lift stuff up, buildings, whatever, laser eyes, fly around, that would be awesome. There was a game that came out for, it was PSVR 1, and I think it was it the first Quest or an Oculus at the time, where it's you're this being and you're on Earth, these aliens are invading, but you could fly out of Earth through the solar system. It was really, really very jarring, made you a bit queasy, but you could just like fly off into go and sit on the moon just to, draw penis pictures with your lasers and what have you. But yeah, Superman game. Then I'd get it.
There you go. So that's that, guys. Let us know in the comments down below what you think of PSVR 2. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and we'll be back very soon, probably next Saturday, for another PSN podcast. Be more generic like normal, focusing on a few different games, talking about a little bit of news and stuff.
PSN.
XPN. Because we're doing a PlayStation one.
Is infiltrated.
That's it.
Oh.
The check cleared. Now they fired a few media molecules just so they could pay me, basically.
Yeah.
That's it. So XPN Podcast will be back, episode 9, very, very soon. Let us know if there's any games you want to see us cover. Thank you, everyone in chat. We had Muppet, we had Daz, Meisuko, there was Jinner, Sentinel, Thimber Scott, Indie Gamer. There was, what's the other guy called? I can't find him in the chat.
David Cohen.
Yeah, David as well. So huge thank you to everyone who has tuned in live and to everyone who tunes in on demand and catch up. So thank you very much. We'll see you very, very soon.
Merry Christmas.
On a Happy New Year.
The time.